What's up, Super Creators? Thank you so much for joining me today on the Super Creator Podcast. I'm your host, Super Manny, and today I have an amazing creative to share with you guys. Someone who I've met in the creative space through, social media, and actually got a chance to connect in person. And since then, it's just been a growing relationship. So I'm excited to introduce him. So a little bit about our guest. So the creative today is Angel Quiroz, right?
Quiroz.
Okay, I got it. Little bit of backstory. He's classically trained graphic designer, now a content creator. He's the director of marketing for Manny Digital. That's probably where you'll know most of his recent work. And he's worked as a social media manager for US Elite and brand manager for English Laundry Fragrance. So he's got a lot on his plate, and I have tons of questions. So, Angel, what's up, brother?
What's going on, man? I'm excited to be on this side of the camera, especially from the first podcast that we did, where I was interviewing you. It's going to be cool to have it flipped around.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I still have that podcast, and I've been meaning to upload it. And I'm just right there. But now it's perfect chance. I get to show the two sides of it.
Hell yeah.
Angel, as I mentioned a little bit about you, basically. So I'm going to get into the nitty gritty. We're trying to find out about you as the creator, a little bit of backstory, how you started, all these things. So first off, when I met you, I knew you as basically a graphic designer and logo designer.
Right.
So can you get a little bit into that? Was that your first creative endeavor? Is that how you started in the creative space, or how did that go?
Well, at first it was really trying to find where my specialty was, right? Because you know how everybody talks about double down on your strengths. When I was working for the fragrance industry on English Laundry and stuff like that, I was doing tons of graphic design work, so posters and marketing stuff for their Dillard stores, nationwide and stuff. So I had kind of already done my due diligence in graphic design, so I figured that's where I would start kind of building my brand as a graphic designer. As things kind of changed and I connected with more people, it was becoming more evident, especially listening to people like Christo. I know you're a Christo guy.
Yes.
Yeah, listening to people like him, he made it very clear that in order to really win in this, you have to be able to become a business person as well. You can't just be a graphic designer. You can't just be a videographer. It has to be that plus a business person. So I was looking at numbers wise, where should I go from here? How should I expand my brand? And content creation and video was the logical next step.
Definitely. That's dope. And actually, I think it's a similar story with a lot of people, even myself. Graphic design was just kind of a thing we did back in school when we had MS Paint or something. We would play around with things.
Right.
And then it just escalated. Even a lot of jobs that I had before were graphic design. I'm just I never saw myself as a graphic designer. I just
right.
Computer programs. I understood a little bit of design, what's current. So
yeah, and it's really easy to kind of, once you, let's say, learn Photoshop because you're becoming a graphic designer, it's easy to take those concepts and go into Premiere and go into all this other editing, because design is a concept. It's a way of thinking. It's not really a profession necessarily because it's so broad. Yeah. It's just if you're a designer, you can design whatever you put your mind towards and put your work towards.
Yeah, basically it's just and that's the important thing. It's good that you mentioned it, because the creative part is the part that you can't teach, is the part that you can't buy.
Yeah.
That's where that's why the creative is so important, right? I was having this conversation with a good friend, and people are always bashing oh, it's the camera, I can click the shutter, or I can pay somebody on Fiverr, and it's yes, if you want a product, if you want a thing, you can do that thing however you want.
Right.
If you want quality work that's going to give a message, that's going to speak your brand, that's going to be remembered for centuries, you need a creative person behind it.
That's so true. I'm so interested in that conversation, because on the one hand, there is a truth behind the fact that technology is slowly shrinking what we're able to do as creatives, just on the fly with apps. They have the Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere app now, but at the same time, there's still people that you need that have, like you said, that eye for it, the ability to put together a brand strategy, or the ability to say, this is what's best for this company, and be field experts, subject matter experts within that industry.
Yes, definitely. So then you touch up on, we're gonna keep up with that point. And so, because you definitely, I know you transitioned from graphic designer into content creation, and it was basically like, it was kind of a no-brainer. It's like, the next step, this is what's gonna go. But what really made you do that shift? I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you.
It's hard when you're a freelance graphic designer to get people to pay the appropriate price for a logo. And it's nothing against clients or anything. Like, I totally understand why they wouldn't, but the process of, let's say, creating a logo, perfect points. It's so funny that we're both wearing these shirts, but like the Superman logo is super epic. And every time you look at it, you can feel a whole franchise behind it. And so the amount of depth and the amount of simplicity at the same time that goes into making a logo, it's something that people don't really start to understand until their company is growing to a certain level. So when you're a freelance designer, you're usually getting work from, like, let's say, small businesses and stuff, and they don't necessarily want a logo as much as they want like a cool graphic. So I had to find my way to work my way into, let's say, branding or strategic marketing, so that a part of that could be the logo work. So it's not like I don't do logo work anymore. It's just, it has to come under a bigger umbrella.
Perfect. Okay. So that was, that was what I was looking for. So then, that's a very good point, because I think now, as like the creative industry is growing, and like you said, there's more apps, there's more people like jumping on it, and especially like with entrepreneurship, I feel like being a creative and entrepreneurship is kind of like going the same route, because it's like doing your own thing.
Yeah, big time. And that is such a cool point, because creative people traditionally and historically haven't necessarily been the most entrepreneurial minded, right? It's kind of like the starving artist is a meme, and like I guess an archetype for a reason. Is because it's so true. And like, I mean, Nirvana, right? Kurt Cobain was such an artist that he deteriorated from his own fame. So like, it's funny now we're being put in a position, and with social media and with the way everything works and technology is, that we have to be able to do both. We have to be able to, and I've said this before, but we have to be able to be Picasso and Mark Cuban at the same time. And those are obviously extremes, but that's kind of the point. You have to have your left and right brain going.
Yeah. So definitely then, like, speaking on that, even as you mentioned, Chris Do, in the future, Chris Do, you're going to be on the podcast.
That would be amazing.
But one thing that I learned a lot from them, and it's, what we're talking about, is when he did some coaching work with Melinda Lisby.
Yes.
A whole course with her, and like kind of like.
What a series, right? What an awesome series. Yeah.
But what shocked me the most is that I think everybody relates so much with her, because she's just in the middle logo designer.
Yep. That's so true.
And then Chris was just like chopping it up, and now she went from like, what I think it was like doing like $500 logos.
Yeah, $500 logos. I remember, because it was the same amount that I was charging, and then Chris was like, why are you wasting your time, pretty much.
And now, so at the end of that whole cycle, she ended up doing 5G on consulting.
Jeez.
Wouldn't talk to anybody, right? And then like, okay, now you want a logo? That's another 5G. Apart from brand strategy and like everything else. Right. I think like for creatives to survive nowadays, it really comes down to understanding the whole business. And I know you mentioned a lot. I always peep your Insta stories and tweets. And, you mentioned a lot that basically the creative director, or the one behind the content, is only as good if they know the industry that you're working in.
Yes. Right? So true, man.
So can you like delve a little bit more on that? Because I know you definitely made that transition, and it's like, it's a daily thing with you.
Yeah, I think so. In particular, right now, I've started working with a company called Malachi, which is they do food equipment repair. So they have a group of technicians that they send out to chain restaurants, McDonald's, Chipotle, stuff like that, and they fix their equipment. So it's a very blue collar industry. And when I started working with them, it was more because I had a good relationship with the owner of the company. And then he kind of taught me the ropes of the whole industry. And it was funny to me, because at first I was trying to think of marketing to them like I would market a t-shirt brand, or like I would market some sort of consumer product. But the more I'm going to their conventions and the more I'm interacting with these people, the more I was able to see, like, I need to market very specifically to these people because their understanding of what social media marketing isn't at the same level as, let's say, I don't know, the NFL or something like that, who's like capitalizing on all this stuff all the time. That industry is just getting into it. So without that, I would have never been able to be successful doing marketing for this company. It would have just been kind of talking to a wall at this point.
Yeah.
But because we weren't romantic about it, like Gary says, we were trying Facebook and Instagram and it wasn't working. So we were like, okay, where is the most attention coming from? And it just so happened that professionals running, a $5 million business or up are going to not be on Instagram. They're going to be on LinkedIn. So we dived completely into LinkedIn, and we've been doing LinkedIn and YouTube more so for the availability to host video, but LinkedIn and YouTube every single day for 365 days. And that's kind of been like what I've been on as the director of marketing there.
Yeah, definitely, brother. That's amazing because like I mentioned, I see the transition, and honestly, like, who thinks of the food service repair like industry? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's why, like, even when you started, like, working on the campaign and everything, and I was just like, how much content can they get out of this? But obviously, it's a growing business.
Big time.
Always training new technicians, getting new people on board. Has huge, chain restaurants as clients, like all these things. And I'm just, man, there's this huge monster that's just working behind the scenes of all these companies, and he's capitalizing on that. It's very, niche down, but it's like you said, it's a very specific market, and like to get to them, it has to be very like spot
on. You can't be doing David Dobrik vlogs for them. It has to be like very cut and dry about exactly what they need to hear. A big problem that they're having is, the blue collar field. We're having less workers coming into that field because, the people that are our age, the guys that are our age or girls that are our age that would usually be doing blue collar work 20, 30 years ago are now doing what we're doing, digital work and stuff like that. Yes. So, but what one of our main focuses is to kind of make this industry, I guess, sexy, right? To make it appealing to a young person to say, hey, you don't know if you want to go to college, do this for like 2 years, try it out. You're going to not be in debt. You're going to be making money while learning, and you're going to be figuring out what you want to do with your life, all while not wasting your time and taking like a gap year or whatever kids do now.
For sure.
So it was super interesting to me. Like that was one of the biggest things that kind of pulled me into this field, because I was like, man, I can relate with that so much. If there was another option besides college that was being forced down my throat, I probably would have went with that other option. Kids nowadays are looking at responsibility in a whole new way. They really want it. So I think it's super cool that this industry promotes that so much. It's all about hard work, and you put in what you get out, what you put in, and all of these great things. And you're seeing that these companies, there's no small company in this industry. Yeah. Like we were one of the smallest companies there, and it's a multi-million-dollar company. But the manufacturers who are at the top, I guess the top tier of who you want to market to, they're close to billion-dollar companies. And they don't utilize social media anywhere near where they could. And it was pivotal for me to get on this train right now while people are still figuring it out, and kind of be that first person to the race, I guess.
No, and definitely kudos to you. From what I've seen, it's been phenomenal. And like,
thank you.
Even I'm still like, man, how would I have tackled the industry? Like, I don't know if I would to handle it, but it's, but you found what was working, and you went for it. And I definitely understand what you're saying about like that there's not a lot of people getting into the industry, because technically before this whole entrepreneur creative wave, those technical schools were the way to go.
Yes.
Like people who were just like, I'm not doing college, I'm not doing 4 years, I don't want to be a doctor, this is like I can't use my time. Then there was like the DeVry University, the
ITT Tech.
Yeah. So all those schools, because people were like, all right, I have to learn a skill.
Yes.
Skill I'm going to use to create a career path,
to offer some sort of value to society, pretty much.
So that's basically where by the term, like the blue collar kind of workers are the technical jobs.
Right.
And people stopped doing that because social media and entrepreneurship and all that became, such a fad and the cool thing, right? What the cool kids were doing.
Yeah, big time. It was just the barrier to entry is so low now that why wouldn't you give that a shot?
Yeah.
But there's a real problem in the U.S. at large of not enough blue collar workers, not enough people to fix the plumbing in the city, not enough people to fix the light rail or the train. There's so many of these industries that are almost collapsing, and come 10, 15 years from now, there's not going to be anybody unless, younger kids start to go into these fields.
Yeah, and they're huge. Like I guess their jobs that I guess are like frowned upon in
Yes.
this sense. But honestly, like I've done construction work. I think I've done every type of job.
Right.
I can say clearly that I do not have that skill set. No
Well, me neither, man. That's why I'm helping them look good, but I'm not necessarily, fixing any kitchens.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I've tried, I've learned, I've worked beside people, and it's just like my head does not wrap around the technicalities of. I used to do like sheetrocking and I'm talking about like legit like full houses.
Yeah.
Obviously, the owner and like all the workers that have been there, they look at the house from the outside. They know exactly how many sheets of sheetrock they need. They know like we need 24 and a half. Like a half to the half, you know what I mean? And I'm just like,
how you guys? That part of my brain never worked either. I mean, my dad was a mechanic. He owned his own mechanic shop for like 30 years almost. And I barely know how to change a tire. It's just missing.
Anything that I've like learned, like even in that sense, like even with cars, forget it. I don't touch it. But like I've learned only because I've been in emergencies where I can't pay somebody else to do it.
Yes.
And I gotta like look it up and I gotta take out the radiator because I crashed it and put like. But besides that, like my head does not register. So those jobs, like I can't look down on a person who does any type of carpentry and plumbing and construction work because that takes a lot of skill.
Right.
It does take a lot. So, but like you said, I just nowadays it's not being glorified or not being even shown.
Right.
So it seems like, oh, you're just being lazy. You're not going to school. You're not doing this, but it's not. It's well-paying jobs, and I know the people in the industry get paid well.
Right. And that's such a crazy point because like you look at people who maybe do technicians work. It's funny. The dynamic is super funny. Like when I go to film some of these technicians in the kitchens, they're on their knees next to like fryers and ovens that are like throwing up fire. And the cooks or the people that are working in the kitchens are looking at them like, dude, get out of my way. But it's funny because the people that are there on the floor on their knees are making maybe twice or triple the amount as the people that are working in the kitchens.
For sure. No, I know. And it's the perception. So it's definitely a beautiful thing that you guys are exposing that industry to a larger crowd and actually, teaching kids and giving them the opportunity because they're definitely great career paths.
Yeah.
Depending on how people want to look at it, they can take it also as just a job like any other.
Yeah.
Or they can actually make it their own business and entrepreneur.
Right.
And it's, it's amazing.
I love that, man.
There's a lot of opportunity there. I can see that.
Yeah, big time, man. That's ultimately what made me gravitate towards it, I think that for a while it was like my content creation was kind of centered around, all right, what looks cool and what doesn't, as opposed to like which message is going to resonate. Yes. And I think that's something super important for people that are kind of coming up or just getting started with video or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to look glamorous or sexy. It just has to penetrate. The message has to get through.
Yes.
You have to evoke an emotion. That's what it is.
It's something like, I'm happy to hear it from your side also because it's something that I have had to learn a lot because, as a creator, you find your work and you're passionate about it and every pixel is important for you.
Yeah.
It got to a point where I had to, create content or put out content that's, in my sense, it wasn't like a complete or it was like, but the message was there. It was like, it has to get out and the message has to be there. It doesn't matter how much cool cinematic B-roll there is, if there's color grade, like that. Like now it's like record it, get the message, get it out to the people.
Right. Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because a lot of the times us as creators, like we'll be so hell-bent on trying to get everything to look cinematic that we almost forget like the art of storytelling. You know,
Yeah.
the art of storytelling kind of overcomes everything. And I mean, it's been a struggle for me because I'll be so worried about, okay, how am I going to deal with this in post? Where's all my footage going to go? How am I going to splice it up? That while I'm recording and while I'm kind of, I guess, producing and telling them, oh, say this, say that, I forget that there has to be a narrative. There has to be a story to the whole, not only that video, but then your brand as a whole. So it's been interesting to kind of figure that out and to be able to do it for just one business. You know, I think that's something that a lot of creators struggle with. But if you embrace it, man, it makes all the difference.
Well, yeah. I mean, touching up on that point, I think it's important, like you mentioned, to know the brand's story and to keep it consistent because it's true. A lot of the creatives nowadays are freelancers, which means
Yes.
they're working for everybody. They're mercenaries. Hot and kill, and it doesn't matter as long as you're paying the coins, you know.
That's such a good way to put it.
But they don't connect with any of the brands that they're working with because they're doing one day shoots, maybe a week at most, you know. Or like,
Yeah, and that was the hardest part for me of being freelance and being on my own with Angel Media and everything, was the having to give my 100% to, let's say, 5 or 6 different clients and be able to capture that one nugget of truth that makes their brand special just with like a 3-hour shoot or just with like, you know, a weekly phone call or something, not being able to immerse myself in the products.
see the behind the scenes. Yeah, because I can imagine like now, I mean, maybe you can explain a little bit on that. Like working, I know you work closely with Rich Maliki and like the team, like in the office. So you get to see the day-to-day things that are going on besides the actual like in the field thing. So how has that helped in your creative process or like creating content for them?
I think at the center, it's just learning the company values, you know, and seeing not only what the brand message is, but learning what the company truly operates like and what they genuinely care about, and being able to capture that with a creative voice. Because even though they may be saying it, the owner may be saying it, the employees may be kind of talking about it, there's something different about being able to capture it creatively and show it to the world. You know, think of huge ad campaigns like Nike. What must the Nike environment look like when they're working, that they can come up with a campaign like Just Do It, even though I think it was a Pentagram that came up with that campaign. But you know, just how much did they have to immerse themselves in the Nike world to say, okay, this is what they really mean.
Definitely. So, so you feel, or what you explained is that knowing the company culture and basically immersing yourself in that has helped the whole creative process because now you have a vision, you have a message, and no matter what content you're shooting, the message is still the same.
Yeah, it's been a game changer. And on a logistic level, it helps you structure content. It helps you think about what copy to write. It helps you think about how to position every single person that you're filming, whether it be somebody coming in to do a podcast with them or how to produce a certain kind of, I don't know, like a what do you call it? Like a Facebook ad or something like that that's needed to convert. It helps you think of all of those things, because had I not been involved in the depths of this industry for, you know, 6 months, I wouldn't know how to essentially make that company money, which is really our job as creators. You know, we have to be creative and we have to be high level, but we also have to bring in numbers. We also have to bring in leads, whatever goal we set for ourselves to achieve.
Yeah. Because as a creator, like you mentioned, and I think that's another thing that, you know, whoever's listening, learn is that as a creative, our job is literally to take the business or the brand and take the consumer and just connect them.
Yes.
We're just a medium that
such a simply perfect way to put it.
So, and like you said, that's what brings the brand awareness, and then the company can make money through that because of the storytelling. But a lot of times it's like the brand, the creator and his vision and his work, and then the client. So they never meet. But I think like if we can transition and understand that we're that bridge, then it's a much smoother like creative process.
Right. And that's why, like, I don't know how you feel about this, so I'd be interested to hear your opinion, but that's why I feel like almost the best place for a creator to be is working internally somewhere. And being, let's say, helping whatever company start a marketing department, as opposed to being freelance for other people, helping them build an ecosystem within their business that will actually churn out the perfect content for them because you're a part of the company. And then from there, it can become a resume piece that you can use to move on to whatever else you want to do. But essentially, you built something from either zero to however much you're making them now, but you're building a leg of the company. I don't know how you feel about that.
No. So definitely, I mean, in that sense, I think that has always been our role as creatives. Like even Christo, he expounded on it a little bit. Like what really a freelancer is somebody who is brought into the in-ground team. You're just not the full-timer, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're brought into the work in the office with the whole team, like feeling an industry. You're just not a full-time position. You might just be there for 3 months, 6 months.
Right.
Real freelancer doesn't mean that we're just like, you know, shooting arrows everywhere. We're literally, it's supposed to be working for one company on maybe like a campaign that's going to last a certain time.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that isn't talked about that much, you know, and I know what video you're talking about that he said that, but I guess it's something that I didn't keep, but that's such a good point. Like a lot of times freelance work will come in, let's say groups of 3 months maybe, or even like the shortest I've ever had a freelance job was like 2 weeks, but you go into the company to assimilate to that company and put out what content is needed for them. So that's super interesting. I never thought of that.
Because a lot of times, you know, even like how he puts it is like maybe for a certain campaign, you need that that logo designer, or you need that 3D artist, or that one guy that knows Cinema 4D.
Yes.
So you don't have anybody in your immediate team or your permanent team, so you bring that one guy in, and then if he's needed, then he stays on, and or if the project's done, then you know he goes on.
That's so true. I think there's something cool to say about being able to be that person and acclimate yourself to whatever's going on in that situation, and perform well and actually give people the digital asset or the product that they need. That's kind of why I've always wanted to stay away from like weddings and, you know, baby shower photography and all that stuff.
Oh, brother. Trust, I'm in the same boat. I can't do it. I can't do it. But no, and I think, and honestly, like, you know, speaking to all the people who are out there as the starving artists,
yeah,
literally, if they are chasing the client per client, like on that kind of freelance base, it's going to be tough. You're going to be struggling. You're selling yourself so many times over and pitching yourself so many times. So,
that's so true.
You know, only for like that 1 week gig, maybe 1 month, you know, maybe a couple of days of that 1 day shoot, you know, for photographers. And it's tough because you can land a 1 day shoot, but what about the other 5 days?
Right.
The other 30 days in a month, you know? So
I have a friend who does that actually. He goes around the world. It's at the name is Dan on Instagram. He's phenomenal. He goes around the world and literally when he lands in a city, he goes, "Hey, I'm in San Francisco. Anybody want to shoot?" And people will hit him up. But it's because he's built this reputation of being that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's way harder of a hustle, and you have to make tons more sacrifices because you're not ever home. If you want to make money, you have to be in a certain city.
You always have to be out. You always have to be outside. You have to be shooting. You have to be connecting. And you really, like you said, there's a lot of sacrifices because there's no set schedule. So your kind of personal life is like very, you know, out there.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think, you know, creative people should consider or really think about, you know, selling themselves or pitching themselves once to a company where they can stay at for a long period of time. And then that way they either grow with the company, stay with the company, or branch out to do their own thing or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Because even in that sense, like you learn a lot of skills. Like all the jobs that I've gotten into as like a, you know, graphic designer or something, I took it for what it was. And since I was doing the same work day after day, I learned that skill set, you know? I was like, this is how you know, work with font in this text. This is how these colors work with this brand. This is how they do these pictures and these cutouts. And so it was like, I took that skill set to, you know, where I'm working now or wherever I'm going to be working.
Right. And you're just accumulating knowledge of your general area of expertise.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I wanted to touch up one thing that I took a note of, because you mentioned that you guys tried the Instagram route and the social media route, but you really honed in on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I know a lot of creatives are not using LinkedIn. It's very like, It's that
That's
huge
that's
change.
why I'm there, man. That's why I'm there, because none of you guys are on there.
Exactly. No, no, but
Distracting from my content.
bro, honestly, like, so LinkedIn, from what I understand, I can reach out to the marketing director of Coca-Cola and
Yes,
bam.
exactly. And that's why it was so important for us. I don't know what the question was, but I just want to say this. In the industry that we're in, there's so many decision makers. There's so many people you have to get through. So we have a podcast, and let's say we want to get a sponsor for the podcast.
Yeah.
I can't just call CEO Joe Schmo and be like, hey, you want to sponsor my podcast? Like, it has to go through levels. It has to go through corporate, and the corporate has to either approve it and give us like 2% of their budget for their marketing budget, which is like thousands of dollars, or they say, no, we can't do this. We don't want to work with you. But there's so many levels that the only way for us to kind of streamline connecting with these people, besides networking with them at like a conference or something, would be LinkedIn, because as their name, as their title, and it's secure in that. Like, you can put anything as your title in Instagram or Facebook, but LinkedIn, it's very specific, and you see their colleagues.
Of course. Okay, so that was actually my question. If you can go more into like how powerful of a tool is LinkedIn, and then how are you guys like using it to really like get the result? I mean, I know you explained a little bit, but if you can like
Yeah.
expound and maybe give a few tips on how creatives in whatever industry they're in can also use this.
So I think the main thing of LinkedIn is having a diverse kind of content, where, like, let's say we're doing a video a day, right? But that's our minimum. So we have LinkedIn is cool because when somebody hits like on your post, it goes back to the top of the feed.
And it shares it to everybody.
Yeah. And so it's like, oh, there's new interaction on this post, kind of like what Facebook used to do. I don't know if they still do or not, but that's one of the biggest benefits to us, because as long as we can put something like a question or a prompt or some kind of call to action within the caption, it's people are going to keep answering if they like the content. The other main thing on LinkedIn now, in order to become like a LinkedIn influencer, is what they're calling it, is yeah, that's like what
Perfect.
LinkedIn is actually called. Yeah. A big thing for that is articles, because it solidifies your expertise in whatever area you're in. So if you're constantly writing articles and then pairing that with videos, embedding videos into your articles, and then posting pictures on top of that, then you have a well-rounded resume, and people are going to start interacting. Also, there's not, I'd want to say like Facebook is like the club that used to be hot in the 90s. Instagram is like the place where people are still going, but maybe it's more chill. And then like LinkedIn is just like the cigar lounge where people go to just like straight up talk business. They're in there for a reason. They're in there to relax, but also to find some interesting stuff and maybe connect with you. So the mood that you're in when you're going on LinkedIn is like, you're determined, as opposed to Instagram, where you're just kind of being, you're in escapism. You just want something that'll entertain you.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure. And I know LinkedIn, I would say maybe a year and some change ago, introduced LinkedIn video.
Yes.
Now video content is definitely being pushed,
Yeah.
through LinkedIn itself. And then also not a lot of people are creating LinkedIn video content. So it's like a huge, like open.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we decided we were going to do. I decided early on is that we would make exclusive LinkedIn videos that would only be seen on LinkedIn, because, like I said, our whole audience is there. But let's say you're like I don't know, what kind of company? Give me a kind of company.
Car sales.
Car sales. Okay, let's say you're in car sales. Your LinkedIn audience isn't going to be the people that are going to buy your cars. Maybe it's going to be the people, the B2B customers that you need to build connections with as a business to thrive as a business. So let's say people to sponsor your ads, people to market, network with, and the kind of connections you need to do. So you have to create content that's specific to those people. And then Instagram and Facebook in particular for targeted ads is a completely different thing, where now you're targeting the people that ultimately are going to go to your shop and buy a car from you. So it's a very, I think it's really interesting, because it's the barrier of who you can talk to is so much lower on LinkedIn. Like, you try and DM somebody on Instagram and it takes them forever to answer, if they answer at all. LinkedIn is very straightforward. Like, listen, this is what I want. This is how we want to do it. Are you interested or not?
Yeah, no, and that's great, because I never really thought of LinkedIn as being that like place for like B2B and to kind of like, even for ads, for ad spend
Yeah.
or sponsors.
Yeah. LinkedIn ads are a thing now too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Like if I could have it my way, I would want Instagram to be our platform because it's just the cool platform. It's the cool place to be. But LinkedIn is just been there's so much to utilize in LinkedIn for let's say a growing company over 50 employees or something like that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Instagram is, going to the whole like social media route is it's where people, I think they just connect on a more personal level. So like that's where like, you know, uh, Maliki cares and like just Rich himself, like him
Yeah.
posting himself and his day to day and his family, like that brings the human side together.
Yes.
LinkedIn is
Big
like
time.
business, like let's get things done. So
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned that because there's that duality of like what you should post on each one, but that's kind of what I'm trying to build for them. So we're trying to build a separate entity from the actual food equipment repair business. That's pretty much going to be a digital agency specifically targeting the food equipment industry.
uh,
So I don't know if did that make sense? I don't know if I rambled.
yeah,
Okay, so pretty much our goal would be to find either other service companies or manufacturers and have them be our accounts. But in order to do that, we need to kind of build up our own profiles in order for us to have some leverage to even
yeah,
get started. So on Instagram, Rich Maliki is the entrepreneur of two businesses, Maliki and this startup digital agency. But on LinkedIn, he's an expert in food equipment industry.
that's
So it's kind of two sides of it because of the way the platforms are. I
yeah,
guess the way we engage with those platforms.
but that's perfect. So you guys basically, so you're taking the same strategy and approach that you did to basically build up his brand, and now
Yes.
you want to use it to help other people kind of in the same industry because
Yeah.
you saw that they're lacking.
Yeah. So it's cool. I could break down the funnel for you. I think that would be real beneficial to a lot of people.
Do
But
it. I think
essentially, the free content is the top of the funnel, right? It's exactly where you're watching the daily video, stuff like that. The
Mhm.
next part of the funnel is our Facebook group, our private Facebook group, and our private LinkedIn group, where people are from the industry who are enjoying what we're doing can come talk to us and talk to each other about how to incorporate digital into the food industry. And then the lower funnel than that would be actually having us come out and do a video with you, collaboration, or maybe sponsoring a video if you don't have the time for that. And then the bottom of the funnel, which is what we're planning now, is to do like a mastermind event or a conference specifically for the food equipment industry and bring in digital marketing professionals to talk to these people about why it's important. So our main goal as the agency is to make sure that everybody in this industry understands the power of social and is able to capitalize it for their own brands and for the good of the whole industry, right? Because like I said before, it's all about getting these kids on board. So if we have all of these companies pumping out content, it's only a matter of time before kids are like, damn, I never knew that. And maybe I'll try this out.
Yeah, for sure. No, no, that's great. I mean, I'm over here taking notes, Crystal style.
Nice. I'm a
um,
horrible note taker.
no, I had to learn, right? But that is fantastic because you're basically taking, like you said, an industry that's actually huge. That's the first thing. The industry
Yeah.
is huge, but it's very like it's in the shadows. And you guys
Yeah.
are the first ones to be like, all right, we need to bring it back to the spotlight. We need to like expose more people to it. And
Yeah.
even like that, like you were mentioning, to get like to collab with them is another way of expounding the whole the industry as a whole.
Right.
And to hold a mastermind and that kind of like niche down group is so powerful because I can imagine if I'm just in any of that, the industry, whether it's food repairs or some other type of, like blue collar company,
Yeah.
that would be like the mastermind to go to. Like, I'm not going to go to an entrepreneur one because that would only benefit me as like the one person, like, the CEO or the head.
Right.
But, to bring like the whole team down, the whole staff and like have them like learn. I know a little bit from a friend of a family of mine who's also Peruvian, but they're in the dentist industry.
Oh wow.
And
Oh, so much money in that industry, dude.
I I never knew until I saw like every piece like that goes into it. But they have a convention every year, and they explain on like different type of what do they call that? It's basically the mold that's used to make like the replica of the teeth, so that you know like what
Oh
kind of
wow.
denture you need and stuff like that. So yeah, they explain all these type of like chemicals, like oh this one's easier to carve and mold, and this is the new wave, and this costs this much, and so they have like their own little world.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, how can dentistry be so like?
It was funny because like now that you mentioned that, like when I was in Austin for this conference or this convention, there was another convention going on at the hotel that I was staying at. So I asked somebody, I was like, "Oh, so what do you guys, is it like a work event? What is it?" They were like, "We're doing the Sharpie marker convention. It's everybody that's involved in the marker industry,
Shut up.
like specifically writing utensils." I was
Shut
like, "What?" That is so specific. It's not even
No,
funny.
it's ridiculous. But think about how many people are in that industry.
Yeah. I mean, how many times in your life do you go out and buy pens, or whatever, kids, when they go for school every year, like they got to buy that. So like, it makes sense why it would be so big, but you never think of it as the kind of industry that maybe has conventions and people
Yeah,
get together. Yeah.
Sharpie convention.
Yeah. Us digital people thought we made that up.
Exactly. No, but so that's the thing, is that these industries and companies have been around and they've been doing this, but it's just so they're still, I guess, not.
They're still behind the times a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not like they didn't jump the wave. They're still doing it very conventional. Very.
Yes.
This is how we've done it for 50 years. We're just gonna keep doing it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny the pushback that we've gotten. Like when we were at our first convention in Vegas, there would be people coming up to us all the time. Like I have my big camera with like the shotgun mic and everything, and they're coming up to Rich, and they're like, "So what are you getting out of this? Like, what's the ROI on this? Like, why are you even doing this?" And it's a funny question because it's so logistical and so just like on the nose that they can't understand the long-term effect of building brand and putting out content. So it's something that we in our field, like we understand that it's just like an irrelevant truth. Like you're going to have to do this for a while to be able to milk your brand equity. Right. But for somebody who's been in food equipment or plumbing for 50 plus years to have somebody all of a sudden vlogging them, imagine the kind of world shattering confusion that they must be going through.
Yeah, no. And actually, I never thought of it like that, but it's true. Like for people in that industry, that's a whole different.
That's for the Kardashians. That's what they're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, because like the whole vlogging style is like there's a kind of a personal branding, but there's also making a brand personal.
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, that's so good.
and that's what really people resonate with. I think, like even when you think about it, when you think of any type of company, like okay, I'm gonna use an example like Snickers. Everybody knows I love Snickers, my thing, and I I like all kinds of chocolates.
Yeah.
All chocolate lives matter.
Hell yeah.
But something about the Snickers branding, whether it's a logo or the, just the thing about it, it resonates with me. So I can promote it, I can live it, I can explain it to people, and it's just like something about it made it personal for me. And it's
Yeah.
something I can resonate with, but I won't have that same attitude to Twix or
Reese's.
yeah, right? But when we think about brands, like when you like a brand over something else, some people are
Right.
like, oh, no, Pepsi or Coca-Cola. A lot of times it's not about the taste.
No.
It's about the visual. It's about the branding. It's about, like, honestly, like me and my brother had this fight. He liked Pepsi. I liked Coca-Cola. And we were always like, oh, it's because the taste, Coca-Cola has more fizz. But honestly, you know why we liked it?
Why?
He liked blue. That's why he liked Pepsi. And I
Right.
like the color red. That's
Yeah.
why I like Coca-Cola. So it had nothing to do. It was just gang wars. It was blue and red. Like,
Yeah. Now that you say that, I think I like Pepsi because it's red, white, and blue. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
but it's because of that little like brand distinction that people resonate with the brand, and then they become what's known as like brand evangelists, right? They
Yes.
speak about it to
Ambassadors.
everybody else, and ambassadors, right? And they speak about it to everybody else, and they promote it freely, even though they're not getting paid, because that brand made a connection with the person.
Yeah.
They will continue to promote it, buy it, support it, a long way.
Yeah, I think one of the best examples of that is not Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, which Chipotle is good too. But Chick-fil-A has this unbelievable cult following behind them that, people will swear by it. Like for me, I love Chick-fil-A. There's no day where I don't crave it. And so a big part of it, I think, is them being able to build such a personality behind the brand that people just enjoy the experience of going there. Of course, the service is a huge part of that brand and all that, but just the personality behind what they stand for or how they operate, what they look like when they're going into the store, everything from start to finish, that's ultimately your brand. I just find that so fascinating.
Even the cow.
The cow. What an awesome ad campaign. Eat more
It's
chicken.
perfect. It's so simple. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that a lot of times, like, what companies have to realize is that the more kind of down to earth and personal that they become and the more that people can relate, those are the people that are going to follow continually and support no matter what.
Right. Right.
And that's where a lot of them are missing because they're just business minded. Oh, what's the ROI? Why are you doing video? But think about it. Like even me, like outside of the food service industry and all that stuff, like if I were to refer somebody in that industry, I only know Manny.
Right.
So I would shoot his name like directly, like, oh, do you know a guy who does this?
Yeah. And that's brand, right? It's the ability, the ability to see somebody all the time and then all of a sudden their name pops up in your head when somebody asks, oh, do you know somebody that does this? Mm-hmm. It's such a funny way that our society works because, they don't necessarily even have to be the best. I mean, they could be, exactly. But it's just seeing them so frequently that they get stuck in your head.
Yeah, and not only that, also just like seeing the work being done, then I can kind of resonate and also get like a more personal feel. So it's kind of like he's like a friend, He's
Rich and I talk about this all the time. We say that we're building trust with our audience is what we're doing. And we're making it easier for somebody to call him and be like, listen, I want you to work on this special project because they see our in and out every single day. They see what he goes through in the office, what he goes through in the kitchen, what these techs are doing. Are they fixing it or not? So that's building steady trust for this business, which makes it so much easier for warm leads or even freaking boiling leads, for that.
Exactly. No, for sure. And I think that's like, if, as creative people in the industry, if we learn how to master that, show that, like that's where the winning is. That's definitely where the win is. It's not about, who's the better creator, who's learned all the techniques, who knows all the transitions. It's about who can the people relate with and who they connect with on a personal level. They're gonna follow. They're gonna support no matter what what you're doing.
It's so true.
That's dope. That's a big key. Major key alert.
Major key. You need a buzzer in this podcast.
I do. Or like what's that?
The Funkmaster Flex noise.
I need to bring those sounds back.
That's how you know we're from Jersey.
Yeah, for sure.
Let the song play, Flex. Let the song play.
Yeah, no, he'll cut it. Cut it. Oh man, definitely. So Angel, so what's I guess we're kind of coming to like the winding down section, but what is like your future projects working on? Like even you as a personal creator, like what is your next move, your kind of like next ambitions? Like what are you looking forward to? What can we expect to see from you?
So definitely expect to see more podcasts from behind the creator. So my personal podcast where I'm just interviewing people who I find interesting or are incredible creatives. Anybody that's really doing something different within the world of creativity, I just want to explore that and talk to super interesting people and see what their perspective is. The last guest I had was like a model. She's like a fashion week model. And she was starting to teach other models, kind of giving them crash courses on how to get into the industry and be safe in the industry and stuff like that. I found that super entertaining and super interesting. So more people like that. Also, as far as Malachi goes, definitely going to be building something consistent and something strong with them where we're looking at other food service companies to get accounts, essentially, to be able to handle their social, to be able to be that digital agency in the industry, that one, the one that you know to call. So that's going to take a ton of work, tons of money, tons of time. And I'm looking forward to learning. And I think that's going to be one of the most interesting things that I have going for me within the future.
That's dope. That's definitely good to hear. And I'm definitely going to be looking out for that podcast. I'm going to be
Hell yeah.
rooting on the side. And no, for sure. And I think honestly, even this is an industry, even though podcasts have been around a long time, but you usually don't get, you'll get like the CEOs and you'll get like the business owners and all those like big name people, but
Right.
people who created the work, like you can hear Gary Vee talk a whole bunch, but I want to hear
D-Rock.
I want to hear, I really want to hear what D-Rock has to say, with everybody who's actually like, creating the content, making these people build amazing personal brands. And yeah, I think that's another thing, like just us exposing like even the creatives, and that aspect is great to let people know that there are humans and minds behind everything that happens. It's just not who's getting pushed out. It's not just, iPhone apps and all this stuff. Like there's literal person who's giving their everything of them to create this piece and to tell the story and things like that.
Yeah, it's all planned. It's all planned, and it's so easy to think that like these people they have it all in their head, and then they create it all by themselves, and it all just comes out, flawlessly. When really there's teams and people who are strategically planning every little clip, every little scene, when every piece of content drops. All of that stuff is super articulated. So I think it's an important mission for these kind of podcasts.
Definitely. And then, so speaking on that, it's actually something that I don't get to ask a lot of people, but as a creator, I get to ask you.
Okay.
All right, well, there's two questions. So the first one is, in your creative process, because there's this like, I don't know what it is that's out there that people just think that if you just record something or do something, it's just going to come out. It's just going to happen.
Yes.
So can you please explain, like, is there some type of process that goes to before the camera even gets pulled out or before the logo gets designed? Like,
yeah. Okay. So
people that this exists.
There's an infinite amount to this process. So let's say you get a call from somebody and say, hey, I want you to come shoot for me. How much do you charge? That is probably the most superficial way to go about booking somebody to be your photographer or your videographer, because there's so many variables. You have to know, where are we shooting? When are we shooting? How many cameras do I need to bring? Do I need to hire a second photographer? How much time will I have to edit? When is your release date? What does your timeline look like? All of those things have to be answered before I even say yes or no, I'll do it. And then from there, or give you a price. Yeah. So all of that varies, because if it's just going to be a one shooter, then, and it's like you talking to the camera, it's like a little YouTube video, totally different price than like an interview set up on like a rooftop somewhere. I need to make sure that the weather is going to be right. The light, that there's going to be lighting, or do I have to bring lighting? Do I have to rent extra camera equipment?
Oh my God.
So all of that before we even close on a price and even pull out a camera. Then when we get to the venue, we need an hour before approximately to set up, maybe more, depending on the size. Then the shooting is arguably the easiest part. Arguably. The editing and the work that goes into the post-production it takes longer than the shooting. So most of the time when you're shooting, let's say video ads or stuff, I'm not talking cinematography, I'm not talking anything like that, but just simple video ads, it's maybe, I don't know, a 2-3 hour shoot. And then you need a good solid week to figure out how you're going to structure this thing, how you're going to figure out where everything is going to go within the time frame. If it's a 2-minute video, you have to go through all of this footage and figure out which parts are the most saturated with information or entertainment or value. And you have to clip all those together. It's not an easy process. But once all of that is done, then you have to get their approval. Then you have to go back and forth. I like this, but I don't like that. And then after that, either are you going to post it? Am I going to post it? What does that look like? Do you want me to do distribution? Are you going to put ad dollars behind this? Because if you are, then it would have to have some sort of call to action within it. And then, of course, you need ad targeting. And so then it opens up a whole nother dimension. But that's pretty much my process. As far as workflow goes, that's probably where I'm the most organized in my whole life. But I shoot I empty out all my SD cards. I only shoot with the one from that day, put it right into my computer, take all of that footage, put it into a folder titled by the date. And from there, I start working. And so that's kind of where my workflow goes. It's right one SD card, computer, hard drive, and then from there, I'll pull everything onto Premiere and start chopping it up.
You'll just get lost in the wind.
Yeah. And then somebody will want you to add a scene that you shot maybe 2 weeks back, and you don't have that footage anymore because where'd it go? But yeah, if you have it all titled by the date.
Dropbox or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to, because
that was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No. It's perfect. It's just I want to make sure that people get this clear. So
yeah,
especially when it comes to any type of, whether it's photos, video, logo design, whenever something's being created, there is definitely a process.
Yes.
And a lot of times what is said or done before will determine everything.
Yeah, it's funny in the food industry, Rich says it all the time, pay me now or pay me later. And a lot of times when you're paying later, it's going to be more, right? So a lot of people don't like to do the preliminary stuff to make sure that the outcome is streamlined and to the point. But if you take all of that extra time, say we want this, this, and that, and be as super detailed as possible, odds are it's going to take less time and it's going to be easier for yourself and the client to communicate.
Easier, yeah, no, and I get into, I'm gonna put it out there. I get into this argument all the time with him, with our own disrupt content and also with clients, and a lot of times even I feel bad. I'll think and I'm like, oh my God, am I just being the creator and I'm not thinking as a business owner or this or whatever or consumer?
Right.
No, we need to know where is it going to be published, how long the video is going to be.
Yeah.
What's the message? All these things. If it's for marketing, if it's for personal use, it's going on a website, it's going on YouTube. All these things you need to know in order to streamline things and to make it so much easier. Because and I tell them all the time, I was like, all right, let me know where is this going for what medium, because then I can prepare the size. If it's a logo, you need to know it. If you're making an infinite size, if you're making one for stickers, if you're making one that's going to go on on the corner of a website, a 1x1 and a 300 by 300 essentially is the same thing, but it's not.
Right.
Because if you start to work on a 1x1 and then you try to enlarge it, you're done.
Right.
So definitely, I feel like everybody should understand is that the pre-process, or what they call the brand strategy or the strategy,
or what Christo calls it, exploration, right? I think that's what he calls it.
The most important part of the whole creative thing, because if that's clear for the client, clear for the creative, or whoever's doing the work, then it's that perfect harmony. But a lot of times, what happens is that the clients, they're not clear. You need clarity, because you just say, oh, we just need a video, a quick video. A quick video does not mean anything.
Yeah.
Is it 30 seconds? Is it 1 minute? For Instagram.
Yeah, I can give you a quick video right now. Take out your phone, put it on video, and take the video. There you go, quick video.
Yeah. No, and it's important to know, because then that's where the the second edit, the third edit, the fourth edit comes in. And honestly, that wastes everybody's time.
Yes.
Because the client isn't getting their product. They can't push it out, the video.
Right. And it's funny, talking about client relationships, it always feels like the creative wants those edit fees, but it's not comfortable for us. It's not something that we want. We're not looking forward to charging edit fees or doing edits. It's something that we were trying to avoid from the beginning. So when that happens, it's not because a creative wants to charge you more. It's usually because we need to solve this problem and it might take more time. And the time is just as valuable as the product.
No, and a lot of times it's not even just a re-edit. Sometimes it has to be a whole reshoot.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, there was a client we worked on recently, and their head director of that group
Mm.
resigned or quit, whatever it was,
Um,
like a week after we shot. So could you imagine shooting the lead person of a company,
oh, man.
putting him in all of the shots,
Yeah.
and then trying to take him out?
Oh man.
So it was like,
Yeah.
and I understand it wasn't on our a fault on our side. It wasn't a fault on the direct, client side, but
Right.
it is what it is. Like, there's no way you can salvage that. There has to be a reshoot.
Yeah. Big time.
And the company has to understand that it's not that we want to reshoot it, but in order for us to present this properly, I can't just like CGI somebody out, right?
Right.
That-
Video shop. You got to video shop them out.
that's not the way to do it. But and there's things like that. But I feel like it comes down to clarity. And
Mm.
one thing that I do want to say that I think will benefit is, as the creative, we do have to take responsibility.
Yes.
So since
Yes.
we're the ones doing the work, we do have to make the connection with the client, jump on a call or in a meeting, and be like, okay, we have to talk about what is it that you exactly want, what's the outcome, what are the deliverables, and all these things. Because in the end, it's gonna help everybody. Everybody's gonna be happy.
Right.
The product is gonna get pushed out. It's gonna be done, and it's gonna be just smooth sailing.
Yeah. And to be fair, that was one of the biggest things that I struggled with, just trying to evolve as a business owner. The ability to communicate and ask the right questions to every single client that you work with. It's like an invaluable skill.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing more important when you're on your own doing freelance artwork or anything than to be able to communicate with your customers. And that's been one of my biggest things, because I'm not somebody that just freely over communicates. It's something that I have to learn, and I've had to learn as a business owner. And I'm very introverted. Like after this, I'm gonna go like sit in silence. But but that's one of the main things that I think separate a successful project from a not successful project, is your ability as pretty much the head person, the key person in this project, to communicate and express, okay, this is what's expected, this is what will be delivered, this is when, this is how, all of that. And without that, you're kind of doomed.
No, yeah, for sure. And I know how I know that same feeling, like as extroverted as we seem on social media and whatever, but every creative is like that person that's just like in their own room, like just hidden. And I
Yeah.
feel like, it's something that everybody should take into account, that yes, you are the creative person, you're creating whatever medium that is,
Hmm.
but you also have to be the person who communicates, who talks, who projects that vision so that the other people can also relate and understand.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that that's another interesting conversation, maybe for another day. But just the fact that nobody is exactly who they are on social media. There's always underlying levels to them, and I feel, and this is me personally, I feel like that's okay, and that's a good thing. Like if everybody was exactly who they were, authentically, completely transparent on social media, so it would be, Twitter would be even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. People are ready like to lose.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing that we kind of put our own highlights together, and we say, this is who I desire to be. This is what I portray myself to be. It's aspirational. It's your own mood board. It's
Yeah.
your own journal.
No, and that's very true. Just like, and not to expound too much, but what you were saying about social media is definitely, um, I feel like some people feel the need to like have to express or show everything,
Right.
but like you said, you don't have to. It's what you want to show. And, there's a lot of things in my personal life that I just don't share because it has nothing to do with our friendship. It has nothing to do with our business relationship.
Right.
It has like, it's one thing has nothing to do with the other. So there's no reason for me to have to try to marry everything,
Right.
And if
Right.
people know me for photography work or videography work or whatever, then that's
Hmm.
what I'm going to put out because that's what we resonate. Then if for whatever reason we hit one of those other, layers or sections, then
Yeah.
maybe I might expound on that with that one person that should know or needs to know.
Yeah, and a quick little story about that. I won't take up much time, but when I was running, I had like a blog that I used to update, kind of like BuzzFeed-ish, right? Just to kind of get in the groove of learning. This was when I first ended my old job, when I first left there. I was growing rapidly, and I expressed a little bit of a political opinion. Like I pretty much, kind of came out with it. And I lost like a good 300-400 followers like within an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. So it was a lesson well learned. Like if you're actively trying to grow, stick to the things that people are actually following you for.
Yeah. No, and there was just to touch up on, there's another podcast, a close friend of mine who's also going to be on the show. He had a podcast called The Hysteric Hour. He spoke about the I don't know the guy's name top of the head, but he was one of the directors for the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, James Gunn.
James Gunn, yeah. So he was explaining about like how his Twitter and his opinions and all that kind of like, burden sub, yeah. And I was just like, man, but it's so true. Like, if you just stuck to like previews of the movie or like his thoughts on like the character plot, like everything would have been good.
Yeah, I heard this guy from a band called the 1975. His name is Matt Healy. He said social media for him isn't a problem because for him, social media is what he does. It's not who he is. And I thought that was super profound, like, and super valuable to anybody that's in this industry, man. Like, you are not your Instagram. It sounds stupid, but it can be what you do.
Yeah. For sure. Definitely. Man. A lot of gems.
That got deep, man. That got deep.
But this is good, honestly, and this is honest the exact reason why I want to do this, because even like, for so long, like, I've known you, but when did we really get a chance to actually just like talk? Talk and kind of like expound, and like, and this is what I kind of want to bring back and like reveal, is just that human connection again, even on a digital level.
Yeah. even though you're making a big leap in this near future, and Jersey's not in the cards for you. I understand.
Yeah. No, but for sure, and I keep telling everybody the first part of this podcast is basically obviously like the audio, but the real second part is kind of, an in-person going through the creative process.
Right.
I really want to like, when I'm back in Jersey, I'm gonna find you. We're gonna spend a day together.
Let's do it.
We'll follow you around while you work, and basically, kind of like to match the person with the work that they're doing, and that's gonna be like the ultimate, just like
that's super cool.
The field and stuff like that. So, so that way everybody can get the whole picture of not like what you're saying; they can see it in action.
Right. I love that, man.
So yeah, no, it makes it exciting because I get to meet everybody again. But actually, it's funny, really quick. I think it was yesterday. Cafe 46. They liked the picture that I posted of you.
That's cool.
But it's been like so long ago. But just yesterday, they like, they gave it. It's like, this is interesting.
The owner there is nice. Yeah, they love the fact. I was there the other day, and they were filming a bunch of stuff again.
Oh yeah.
Random people. So I think they're taking a liking to that.
That's perfect. It's a way to market.
Yeah.
The people's, because obviously, like, we're there, they let us use the space, so we're gonna like mention them and visit again because they made that connection.
For sure.
Oh, Angel, before we close up, I'm gonna ask everybody this, and if you were to give one piece of advice that you think is the most vital that you've learned that you wish to see creatives like implement more or at least keep in mind, then what would that piece be?
It's funny because this is something I learned very recently, but I'd have to say it's don't necessarily follow your passion, follow good opportunities. It's a micro quote, but it's a micro quote, but it hit me so hard because I feel like it's a misconception that we get a lot in especially in America here, that you just have to follow your passion, follow your heart, follow your dreams. But when opportunities come up that may not exactly align to that, you have to be willing to kind of risk going off track a little bit to get yourself to the place where you want to be.
For sure. And that's solid. I think recently was Dan Locke, I think, mentioned it. It's the Eastern like philosophy is do what's going to make you money.
Yeah.
Secure the bank, secure the family, make sure everything's good. But the Western mentality is, what's the dream, the passion, your calling,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but he kind of mentioned up on that, like it's true. You have to find those opportunities, and then once you have those opportunities, then you have a choice to follow your passion.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
A lot of us are trying to change the world before we can change our bedrooms.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Well said. For sure. But so then, so for people to follow you, to find you, and continue to keep in step with all your creative work, where is the best place that they can find you?
So Instagram is my go-to. It's the platform that I use the most. So at underscore Angel Media, just like it sounds, Angel then Media.
And media.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and then on LinkedIn too, Angel Quiroz, Quiroz.
Perfect. And I'll leave definitely those linked in the description so you can follow him. And Angel Brother, it's been fantastic catching up with you again. Thank you
Dude,
so much. Even though it's like short notice, but this gives me so much life. Like right now, I'm ready to like just grind for another 6 hours and
you're ready to edit 6 more videos.
no, for sure. That's exactly what I'm gonna do after this.
Hell yeah,
No,
man, dude! It's been a serious pleasure, man. Thank you for having me on. I
thank
really
you
enjoyed
for
it.
taking time. I know you're doing, a video a day, and for sure that's not easy. Just just posting a photo a day is difficult.
Yeah.
So a video a day is and definitely keep up the good work. And even though I might not communicate as much through social media, but I see everything, and I'm always like rooting, cheering, looking for the opportunity to even share your work with others and mention you. So
I appreciate that, man.
brother,
Seriously, and likewise, I'm always throwing out Super Manny, bro.
thank you so much. It's I'm getting there. I'm making those moves, but like you said, I gotta chase the opportunity and then the passion.
That's right, man.
Sure,
That's
brother.
right.
Thank you again, everybody. This was Angel Quiroz. Follow him on Instagram at underscore Angel Media. And this will be the end of this episode of the Super Creators Podcast. And remember, each and every one of you are super creators. You just have to find your super power. And with that, I will end it. Till next time, guys.